let's just like talk like this, as friends. Let's just not have an awkward moment. Crap, we
Okay.
started recording already. My bad. Oh
I
my
don't,
god.
I don't think it really matters, but I hope that light isn't annoying.
It's good.
It's kind of annoying me. But hello guys, welcome back to my next. I think this is the fourth podcast. So this is my fourth podcast. I have a couple names that I haven't that I want to call it, but right now I'm just gonna stick to the Dupont Cup podcast because that was my diecast series that I have. But so yeah, you guys want to introduce yourself?
What's up?
Yeah.
You saw me in the last few podcasts, and I'm back again.
I'm Savage NASCAR, also known as C. Will. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, so yeah, today we're not gonna be talking about the race that just happened. We're maybe gonna save that for the next podcast, but right now we kind of have like a top 50 greatest NASCAR drivers of all time list. We have a bunch of voters. I'll put I'll just put their names in the description. But I know you guys voted, so we're just gonna kind of look over the list that we have here.
All right.
All right,
Okay.
I have my list over here. If you want me to read mine, if you need mine as well, or whatever.
Okay, well, so I'm gonna do the list now, but so number 50 we have Greg Biffle. Number 49 is Bobby Labonte. Number 48 is Marvin Panch. And 47 is Tim Richmond. What you guys think of that?
It's sort of
No.
similar to mine in a way. I'm sorry. Were you saying, Andrew?
Oh no, you go ahead. I was just gonna say something about Greg Biffle, but you can go ahead.
I was just saying that it was sort of similar to like mine around the 50 through like 57, except I have Marvin Panch at 46. I have Greg Biffle at 49. Labonte I have a little higher than that low. I think Labonte definitely deserves to be near the top 30. But at like for mine, I had Sterling Marlin at 50, Greg Biffle 49. 48 was Fonnie Flock, 47th was Shepard, and 46th was Panch. So that was those like what mine was through the 50 through 47th spot.
Well, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't really make it top 50, really, but I mean, I did. I didn't. All right. I actually made like a top 22, but I don't know who would be my top 50 because I don't know any drivers except the people starting from the 2000s all the way up to the nowadays. But I don't really have a top 50. So Jose, I don't know what I say at this point.
Sorry about that. That's the last time I'm gonna leave. I promise.
It's Gucci. I had like with my list, I did like some research and stuff to it, and it's basically based off statistics, championships, top tens, like top fives, polls, average finish, how many starts they had, how many years they were in the Cup Series, stuff like that.
Oh
So
God.
I put like a bunch of statistics and stuff down and everything for my list, and it helped me a lot make the decision because once you look at all the statistics and look at other people's lists, you can kind of compare yours to theirs, like what Fox did. They made their own list and everything. So I kind of was looking at theirs, and I saw where they were coming from because of some of the drivers they had were similar to where I put mine. Because they probably must have done their research too. But yeah, I just had a bunch of statistics and everything, and was able to prepare for it and do a bunch of research. Here's some more of the stats and stuff. But yeah, that's all I gotta say.
Yeah, looking at this list, it's gonna get a little spicy in some areas.
Ooh, spicy.
Yeah. So
I like where this is going.
I guess I'll say my opinion. Actually, I don't really have an opinion. I never really watched any of these drivers race. I heard about them, but yeah, I think I looked at the statistics like you did too. I look at all their statistics and all of that, so I kind of based it around that because there's a lot of drivers I barely even know who they are, so I just kind of look at their statistics and I'll just say stats, and kind of compared it from there. So I guess I'll go to the next batch of people at number. I actually I actually forgot. I like I don't know what happened, but I completely forgot to put Bobby Allison where he should be. So it's
Ooh,
kind of I had to kind of squeeze him in there, but it's kind of confusing because now the numbers are all jumbled up. I said Tim Richard would be at 47, so that means Curtis Turner at 46, and then we have Alan Kulwicki at 45, Wendell Scott at
oh,
44, and Jeff Burton at 43.
that's
You
sort
see,
of
that's
similar
a
to
little
mine.
spicy.
That was sort of similar to mine with the same number placements, but I was surprised Wendell Scott made it on there. No, no offense to him or anything, but I mean, he only won one race. So
Wendell
I
Scott. I isn't he the first ever black driver to win in NASCAR or something?
yes.
Yeah, I don't know if he should be in the top 50 because I mean he only won one race, but I do see where you're coming from. You know, like he's like the first ever African American to win in the sport, so I guess
Mhm.
that's why he's in the top 50, which I agree with. So that's cool.
Yeah, I saw there was somebody who had Wendell Scott all the way who had him at the 30s in their list, but I'm not gonna say but someone.
I'm
What?
sorry, but God, are you kidding me? All the way up there?
I think that's why he got. I think that's why he got so high because that one person put him up really high.
I bet
Jesus.
he's probably only watched NASCAR since 2010. But I mean, for me, I had Tim Richmond at 45, Neil Bonnet at 44, Alan Kulwicki 43, Curtis Turner 42. So it's sort of similar to yours in a way. But Neil Bonnet, I don't know if you have Neil Bonnet on your list, but Neil Bonnet, he raced 362 races over 20 years. He had 18 wins, 156 top tens. He had 20 poles, but he never won a championship. But Bonnet, I feel like, is definitely underrated. I feel like if Bonnet raced more races and wasn't so injury prone, he could have maybe finished higher in the point standings for some of the seasons he was in NASCAR.
Yeah. Do you have anything to say, Andrew, about that?
Well, like I said, I only made my list up to 22, I believe, so I don't really have much to say. But I mean, you know, we're like pretty high in the list, so I mean, like I said, I don't have much to say until we get like top 30 wise. That's
Uh,
it.
yeah. I actually have my list right here. It's kind of yeah. I don't really have a problem with it. I think it's good. I think Alan Kulwicki deserves to be in the top 50 because he has that championship. I think.
You know what's crazy? I saw this stat and actually noted this in my notes right here. Alan Kulwicki, he raced 9 years in the Cup Series, and Curtis Turner raced 17 years. Curtis Turner raced 23 races less than Kulwicki, even though Kulwicki raced 8 years less than Turner, which is pretty crazy. And Turner 17 wins in 7 years in 17 years, but Curtis Turner also was a full-time driver like Kulwicki was. But it's crazy. Like if Kulwicki had a longer career and he had been killed in that plane crash, I feel like Kulwicki would have been near the top 30 or even higher
Wait,
in the top
Alan
50.
Kulwicki died?
His statistics from the 9 years he was racing was insane. Like for some people, like he's like honestly, like if he would have raced longer, he would have been better than Truex Jr. in my opinion, because him and Truex Jr. were very similar with their statistics. But what are you gonna say?
Alan Kawicki died.
Yes, he did.
I did not know that whatsoever. Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
He died the same year as Davey Allison. They both got killed in a plane crash.
Oh, okay. I didn't
Yeah.
know that. I didn't know that till now. I know.
Yeah. It's really kind of sad, all these drivers who died really early in their career that could have been really good in their futures. And
Yeah,
it's
Yeah,
actually,
I mean, I'm probably I like Davey Allison a lot only because he's like one of the young drivers that just showed his talent. What age did he join NASCAR? Like the Cup Series was.
I don't know, probably somewhere in his 20s.
Yeah, see, he was like, I don't know what I'm talking. I don't know where I'm going with this, but back then, drivers would usually start in the Cup Series at what, like 30 years old or something.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
Davey Allison started in his 20s, so I mean, he was doing pretty good at that time. And he would have probably been the next Jeff Gordon or something. Not the next, but like Jeff Gordon would have been the Davey Allison. That's what I'm trying to say. There you go. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
I don't think he could have been in my opinion, I don't think he would have been as good as Jeff Gordon, but I think he definitely would have been close, maybe top 10, top 15.
Yeah, Davey Allison, I have him on my list at number 33. He raced 9 years just like Kawicki did, but he had 19 wins, 92 top 10s, 14 poles. They went
What?
championship. I feel like if they,
Well, I feel
like Davey could have had a really long career, like a really good career if the plane crash never happened, he would have probably won a couple of championships. And yeah.
Yeah, I think I have Davey. I was trying to check here, but I have Davies. Well, actually, I have Davey Allison at 34 on my list.
That's right below, one spot below him where I put
Yeah,
mine.
I know. Yeah,
I
I
have
noticed
him pretty
comparing
high.
our lists, we have a lot of similar drivers at similar numbers. What were you gonna say, Andrew?
I think I have Davey. My voice. All right, I'm sorry. I think I have Davey Allison. I'm sorry. I said Davey Allison. All right. My voice is. I've been all right. My voice is messed up because I've been screaming at the TV all weekend this week. All right, so I mean, sorry if I mess up, but what I'm saying is that I think I have Davey Allison somewhere high on my list, like maybe in like 18, 17, somewhere like that.
Yeah, I think it was
Because
around somewhere like
because
that.
I base drivers off of like what their career could have been instead of just like, oh, this is their career. Happy.
Yeah.
So actually, yeah, I'm gonna get to the next batch of drivers. So we were just talking about them a little earlier, but 42 is Neil Bonnet, 41 is Harry Gant, 40 is Bud Baker, and 39 is Ricky Rudd.
Wow, it's very similar to mine.
Nice.
I have Harry Gant at 41, Marsh X Jr. at 40, Buddy Baker 39, and Ricky Rudd 38. Now, it's crazy. Ricky Rudd raced 906 races in his career over 33 years, but he has less wins than Dale Earnhardt Jr., Carl Edwards, and a bunch of other guys who raced much, like not even as long as Rudd. Like Rudd, when he first started his career, he wasn't on a huge team except for when he was with the 15, racing with Dale Sr. But Ricky Rudd, there was many years throughout his career he was on teams that weren't very competitive, so he didn't really have like many chances to be up front. But there was some cars he had that did really good when he was with the 5 car, for example, and the 20, not 21, that was later in his career, but the 5 car, for example, and the 26. He was really good those years. But man, I feel like if Rudd would have won more races, he would have been higher. But just because of the amount of races he had compared to how many wins he actually had, just makes him lower. Because like let me look again. 23 wins over 33 years. That means there's 10 years he never won a race, basically. And that's why he dropped lower. So, and Bud Baker raced 35 years and only won 19 races. So, I mean, that's why Buddy Baker's 39 and not higher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually like that you have all your stats memorized.
I'm just looking at my paper right now. But yeah.
Do you have them on your paper?
Yeah, I could say my list probably off the top of my head, but I just like to have my paper here for statistic reasons. But yeah, Harry Gant was underrated too. Harry Gant, a lot of people don't have him in the top 50. They didn't realize how good Harry Gant was. He even raced full time most of his career. So.
Well, like I said, I am not a person that really looks into this kind of stuff. I mean, if I wanted really wanted to, then I would. But I'm not really a stats guy, you know. So I'm more of like a biased person. I hate to say it, but I'm more of a biased person.
Yeah, I think I'm biased too, but I tried not to be biased for this list.
Me too. I really tried not to, but you kind of. I don't really have my list because I accidentally deleted it off my notes, but it's somewhere on the Instagram chat. But I mean, I can scroll all the way through to find it. But what I was saying was that, you know, most of the drivers on my list are biased.
I tried to make mine as biased as possible, but I mean, that's going to happen with some people and stuff. I know one of them, to be honest with you, I don't remember whose list it was, but there was a couple of them. I was like, man, these people don't know like how good some drivers back in the day were, and it just shows like how many. It depends on like how much NASCAR you've watched and like how much like research you've done, like what you know about NASCAR history, stuff like that. It depends like with different people's lists. Like one of them I saw, so they had Chase Elliott in the top 50. I'm like, hold on, like Elliott's only raced like 3 or 4 years in the Cup Series, and he's won how many races?
8.
Like,
4,
I mean,
5, 8.
I just don't see Chase Elliott in the top 50 right now. I mean, it's too early in his career. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, you know.
Now,
Yeah, you know.
I'm sorry. You go ahead.
Okay.
All right. Like I was saying, Chase, I agree with that. Chase Elliott will be a top 50 driver no matter what, because he's kind of biased on everybody because you know he's the son of Bill Elliott. You know, you kind of have that little advantage. You know, that saying if Dale Earnhardt Jr. had a son or a daughter and they started racing, you know, they're gonna instantly get into that top car. You know, but I mean, you know, Chase Elliott's already a competitor. He was a competitor when off the start and all. So I agree with that. I think Elliott's probably a 48 right now. That's what I say.
You know, I wouldn't really say that Chase Elliott is in, because you like you said, Christian, it's so early in his career that I wouldn't. You never know. He could end up not being as good as we expect him to be, but but he also could end up being like as good as we expect him to be. But yeah, I think he has potential to be definitely in the top 50 someday in his career.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen some people saying that he is gonna be like the next Jeff Gordon. So I've seen a lot of people say that.
He's got a long way to go then.
Mm-hmm. So, were you gonna say something? Oh, okay, because it kind of looked like you were about to open your mouth and say something, but
I'm just waiting for the next like couple of drivers. To be honest with you, I don't know what else to say.
okay, yeah, okay. So next up, we have Martin Truex Jr. at 38, Benny Parsons at 37, Davey Allison at 36, and Carl Edwards at 35.
Yeah.
Was that Benny Parsons was that low, but I mean it's sort of similar to mine. I have Truex at 40. You have what's his name? You said Carl. No, what was it again? You said that Carl Edwards, or you said Allison was 36.
Carl Edwards is 35, and Davey Allison is 36.
Yeah, I have Carl Edwards at 35, and I have Allison at 33. I actually have Joey Logano at 37 and Dale Earnhardt Jr. at 36. The reason why Dale Sr. is at 36 and lower is because I'm not going to be Dale Jr. because Dale Jr. 19 years, all right? He won 26 races. But if you look at it, he raced 631, he had 631 races, 260 top 10s, 15 poles. That's pretty good. I feel like if Dale Jr. would have won a championship, he would definitely be higher. But and same thing with Edwards. Like Edwards raced 13 years, 445 races, 28 wins, 220 top 10. So it's similar to almost the same statistics as Dale, except for he raced less years than Dale, won more than Dale. And I had Allison, like I explained earlier with Allison, he's like 33. But I mean, in Logano, the reason why I have Logano so low is what was that?
That's my sister. I mean,
Logano,
I'm gonna mute myself to go tell her to shut up. So I'll be back.
I have Logano at 37 because I mean he's getting there, but like with statistics wise, like he's been kind of on and off throughout the years. But I mean he's been consistent. He's been in the playoffs. He's had many chances to win the championship. He has one, so I just feel like Logano deserves, like right now in his career is 37th and Labonte's 34th. But that's my take.
Yeah, I agree. I think he is at a. I think on the list, I think Joey Logano is a little too high. We haven't got to Joey yet, and I think Bobby Labonte's definitely too low, all the way at 49.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hopefully Andrew can get. Oh, he's on again. So yeah, I think Carl Edwards is around where I had him on the list too. I think Davey Allison, might be too, but I don't even remember where I had Benny Parsons. I'm not even gonna try to look, but
Oh yeah, you said Benny was low. I actually have Benny Parsons at let me look. I have Benny Parsons at 32, so it's not far off, but I have Benny at 32. The reason why he's at 32 is because he had he raced 21 years and won 21 races, but Benny Parsons' statistics weren't really as good as as some other people's, but I feel like Parsons was definitely higher than what you had him, but yeah.
Yeah, I was actually just checking. I actually had Benny Parsons at 39.
Oh boy, that's lower.
You know, I don't really know much about Benny Parsons. I was just kind of looking at his stats, so I don't.
Speaking of Benny Parsons, I know Benny Parsons died in 2007, I believe. But who had that little famous line like a man oh man? You know what I mean?
I don't know.
I think it was Ned Jarrett. It has to be Ned Jarrett or Benny Parsons that said man oh man. Sort of like Darrell Waltrip with his like, I don't know, like that iconic. What did Darrell Waltrip had like the boogity boogity? I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm talking about commentator stuff, not NASCAR. Sorry.
Parsons, yeah, I was just gonna say Parsons, like he was on TV, like he was an analyst for many years on like NBC and CBS, I think, when he used to cover NASCAR races after he finished his career. So I think that's sort of like he has some sort of term, I just can't think of it at the moment. I think Josiah is muted at the moment.
I don't know how to say his name. It's either Josiah or Hosea. I don't know how to say his name.
I just say Josiah, but yeah, it just depends. But yeah, I guess I'll continue it like with my list. So right above like what he just off with. Oh, he's back.
Christian was about to say his list, and Hosea was like, "No, let me stop this man real quick." Let me stop.
Whoa, wait, okay. Oh, that just got like worse. The light at the top of my head.
Are you in a cabin?
Man.
What?
Are you in the cabin or something?
In the cabinet? I'm in my bedroom.
I didn't know I thought your room looked different last time I seen it.
Oh, I guess that hat doesn't make it better. But well, okay. This podcast is. Sorry, I said I wasn't gonna leave again, but then my phone ended up being at 6%. So that was kind of annoying. But I'm actually gonna get to the next batch of drivers. So at number 34 we have Denny Hamlin. Number 33 is Fred Lorenzen. Then we have Joe Weatherly at 32, and I accidentally wrote down Fred Lorenzen twice. Let's just say Rex White at what is it, 31? I don't know, 31. Yeah.
Very similar to mine with their I have, like, as I said, I have Davey Austin 33, Parsons 32. I have Denny Hamlin at 31, Fred Lorenzen at 30, and then I have Rex White at 29. Lorenzen never won a championship, but Lorenzen was part-time. He didn't race as much as other drivers from his era. He only raced 158 races in 12 years, which is pretty low. But Lorenzen won 26 races. He had 32 poles, which is pretty cool. He had a lot of poles, and Rex White was underrated. He only raced 9 years, but raced 223 races, and he won a championship. People don't recognize how good Rex White actually was. Like, with his win percentage and everything, he won 28 races. His win percentage is pretty crazy. And his top 10 percentage is crazy. Lorenzen, if y'all don't know, he had some good like races back in his career. He won a lot of races, but he ended up like having he boycotted a couple times. He also had to deal with injuries. He had a bad wreck at Daytona 1 year, so his career in NASCAR wasn't that long. But yeah, Rex White and Lorenzo are definitely underrated. Now, Denny Hamlin, of course, we know Denny Hamlin's really good. I feel like if he wins a championship, he'll definitely go higher on the list, towards the 20s. But yeah, I think Denny Hamlin should be at the 31 spot. So that's my take.
Mm-hmm.
All right, on my list, I have Denny Hamlin on 20. Reason why I say that is because, like I said, I'm biased, and I'm also like, oh, what's his career going to be like for like future coming years? Hamlin for me, I think Hamlin is going to at least win 2 championships. I know that's kind of hard to say since he's like, he's like, I think he's like 40 something. But then again, you think about Harvick and him being old. I'm pretty sure Hamlin's going to have really good success next year too. But like I said, no one's for certain. But that's just my list for right now. Hamlin is going to be probably is going to be a huge Hall of Famer for me. So, like I said, I'm kind of biased.
Yeah, but I think Hamlin definitely is really good. I think this about suits him for where he is right now in his career. But you never know. He could these days. You could just stop winning. You could be at the top of your game, and then you could just stop winning, just like that. So you never know. I think. Yeah, Kyle Busch, cough, Jimmy Johnson. Yeah, it's been a rough year. It's been a rough few years for them.
Oh my god.
Well, let's not even get started on that.
I forgot to put Kyle Busch on my list. That's the one driver I forgot to put on. That's a whoops on me.
Kyle Busch, looking at this list, he probably. No, I'm not gonna say. I don't want to spoil anything, but with Rex White, Joe Weatherly, and Fred Lorenzen, I don't really know much about them. But soon we're gonna start getting to a bunch of drivers that I can start saying more of an opinion on. But yeah, I think it's good.
One other thing real quick. I actually have Joe Weatherly at 26. The reason why is his win percentage was crazy. Like, Weatherly, unfortunately, he passed away at the peak of his career. So Weatherly, he raced 230 starts. He had in 13 years. He won 25 wins, 153 top tens, which is almost as much as Rex White. And he had 18 poles. He won 2 championships. The reason why Weatherly is not lower The reason why he's a little higher than some other people get into is because he won 2 championships. But Weatherly, I feel like if his career was longer, he would have probably won even more. And if y'all don't know, Weatherly, he won 2 straight championships. The first race of the next season, he got killed in a wreck at Riverside. And yeah, that's how his career ended, unfortunately. But yeah, I think I've Weatherly at 26.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna get to the next batch. So 28 is Joey Logano. 27 is Dale Jr. 26 is Bobby Isaac, and 25th is Fireball Roberts.
Not
Alright.
bad.
Yeah, I don't think it's too bad.
Yeah.
I think Dale Jr. could be a little lower though.
I
Yeah.
honestly think Logano should be probably top 40. I don't know. I disagree with Logano even existing in the top 30 at all. For one, for like I said, I'm biased, so I hate Logano. I don't like him whatsoever. But then again, I agree that he's a good driver. But here's my thing: he only has one championship, and I does Hamlin have more wins than Logano? I think
Yeah.
he does.
Yeah, he does.
And and Hamlin has certainly been in the series probably as long as no,
I
not
think it's
as
been
long. I
long.
take that back. I
Hamlin's
don't
been
know.
in longer.
Yeah.
Hamlin's been in longer, so I certainly say should be higher. But I mean, then again, Logano should be lower.
The dog's barking. Well, so basically, like what he said was similar to mine in a way. Like I have Brad Keselowski at 28, Kurt Busch at 27, Weatherly 26, Fireball Roberts at 25, and Isaac 24. Isaac and Fireball Roberts had a pretty crazy win percentage, but they also had a lot of poles. Like you won't believe it, Bobby Isaac had 48 poles in his career over 15 years, which is pretty crazy. Isaac won 1 championship, which was in 1970 with the 71 Plymouth Superbird or Dodge Daytona. And Kurt Busch, he won 31 races in 21 years, but Keselowski has more wins than him. The reason why I have Kurt Busch above Keselowski is because Kurt Busch won a championship. But they're very like close. That's why I like Kurt Busch 27, Keselowski 28. Roberts, he had a really good career too. Unfortunately, Roberts was killed in a wreck, just like Weatherly. But yeah, that's my take.
I see.
Yeah,
I have Kurt Busch on 17, and Kurt Busch for me, once again, I'm biased, but I mean, Kurt Busch is a hard fighting driver, and that's why I have him so high because he's a hard fighter. He's not giving up. He wants to keep racing, and he doesn't. He wants to win another one. You know what I mean? I mean,
Mhm.
I have him pretty high, but I don't think Kurt Busch is gonna win. But probably one more race in his career, and then he's done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Besides Dale Jr., I just think he's a smidge too high. I mostly agree with this. I think. Yeah, I just most overall agree with this. Fireball Roberts was pretty good. In his time racing, Bobby Isaac. I don't know much about him, but yeah. So let's get to the next. Terry Labonte at 24, Kurt Busch at 23, Brad Keselowski at 22, and Dale Jarrett at 21.
Similar.
Dale Jarrett. He all right. Now Dale Jarrett. I'm not biased on him, but I say Dale Jarrett deserves to be higher for me. He Dale Jarrett is 14th on my list. Reason why I say that is because he was kind of he's kind of better than Dale Earnhardt was at Super Plates. He was I all right. He passed Dale Earnhardt Sr. on the last lap on the Daytona 500. So I say Dale Jarrett is a better super speedway racer than Dale Earnhardt. Not only just because of that, I'm talking about at other times he won, but Dale Jarrett also won the championship. He went to 2 teams, still dominated, carried Robert Yates on, uh, basically began the new Joe Gibbs era. He kind of helped Joe Gibbs out there. So, he's like he carried two teams to a very great state. So that's why I have him high.
Probably
And
the
plus,
sorry, guys.
and plus, he's a commentator still today. So he's not giving up on NASCAR at all.
I would disagree with the part that Dale Jarrett was better super speed racer than Dale, because Dale Sr. won over 30 races, like in all the series included, like all the series. Dale Sr. won a whole lot of restrictor plate races. He only won one Daytona 500. Dale Jarrett won two of those 500s, but Dale Sr. was a class act at Daytona, like in the Xfinity series and ARCA and what's that one series? IROC. And Dale Sr. had a way better career with restrict plates, but that's just my opinion. But yeah, Terry Labonte, I have him at 23. Labonte had 890 starts over 37 years. He won 22 races, 361 top 10. So I think Labonte definitely deserves to be in a spot. Now, Labonte, if you don't know, Labonte actually won two championships in his career. The reason why Labonte's lower than Jarrett is because Labonte raced longer, and his starts with like his DNFs was worse than Jarrett. And Labonte went many years. Labonte went a couple years or so, like 5 years without winning a race at one point, I think. And Dale Jarrett, he was more consistent throughout his career. Now, Dale Jarrett was with Roush Yates Racing in the 88. He also helped with Joe Gibbs in the 18 car. Dale Jarrett won one championship, 260 top 10s over 24 years, 32 wins. So Jarrett's definitely above Labonte. Now, one driver I don't think y'all have on any of y'all's list. At number 21, I actually have Tim Flock. If you've ever heard of him, he raced in the 50s. And Tim Flock, he raced 187 starts over 13 years, 39 wins, 129 top 10s, 39 poles, and two championships. So Tim Flock is definitely underrated. And I have him above Dale Jarrett and Labonte. So, yeah, that's my take on that.
Yeah, I mostly agree with this. I think I do agree with Brad being better than Kurt, because Brad actually has, in a less amount of time, I don't know, what was Kurt Busch racing in, like, didn't he start racing in like 1999 or something?
Yes.
So yeah, Brad in like a decade shorter of a career than Kurt, he has more wins and the same amount of championships as Kurt. They both have one, but so I agree with. I don't really know much about how their top fives and top tens compare, but I think I overall just agree with this.
Yeah, it's very controversial. Like Kurt basically raced 7 years more than Brad, but Kurt didn't have as many. Let's see, Kurt hasn't won as many as Keselowski, but he has more top tens and poles, mainly just because he's raced longer than Brad. So y'all do have a good point about that.
You have an opinion on that, Andrew?
Not really. No.
Oh, okay. Because I know you don't really like. I know you're not really a big fan of Brad Keselowski.
Heck no. Especially after he won Jimmy at Kentucky. Once again, biased, but no. Kentucky's not Kentucky. God, no. Brad Keselowski. Keselowski's a good driver, but once again, I mean, he won that one championship, so that makes him good. But for the past at least 4 years, he hasn't really been competing that much. You know what I mean? Like, you don't really see him in that top Final Four anymore. You just see him there, just competing for random calls.
Agree on that, yeah.
But I think this season he's actually doing. Yeah, he's actually doing pretty good. Because if you look at his stats from the past few races, he's been finishing in the top 10 a lot. But I know Hamlin and of course Harvick have been finishing. They've been really good too. So they've been really good this season.
Yeah.
So I'm actually gonna get to the next little batch. Unless you guys have anything else you want to say about this.
I'm good.
Okay. So actually, at number 20 is Tim Flock. 19, we have Matt Kenseth. 18, Mark Martin, and 17 is Kevin Harvick.
God bless.
That's same as me for those spots almost. Like I have Kenseth at 20, Tim Flock 21, Mark Martin 19th, and Kevin Harvick 18th. So very similar with that. I feel like if Harvick would win like another championship, he'd be higher, like close top 10, because Harvick has 56 wins. And I mean, Harvick's raced 20 years, 56 wins, 383 top 10s, 31 poles. I feel like Harvick, if he just won another championship, would be higher for sure. Matt Kenseth, he won one championship, but he had really good stats. Mark Martin too. The reason why Mark Martin's lower is because he raced 31 years, and he basically had 40 wins in 31 years. But Mark Martin just didn't. Mark Martin's came really close to winning championships, but he never did. But I think Mark Martin definitely deserves to be in the top 20.
All right, now here's my take on Mark Martin. This one's not really biased, but the reason why I have Mark Martin at number 8. The reason is because he's raced for so long, and he's also still been competing. You know, he retired, he came back, and he's still dominating. You know, he won what? I think he won 4 races with Hendrick, right?
Yeah, he had a really good year in 2009.
Yeah, that's why I say he deserves higher. And then even when he's retired, I'm pretty sure I mean, I don't know. But like I said, Mark Martin has raced for so long. He's been competing every single year, but he's never really got that championship. But to me, it's more about I wouldn't really. Never mind. Now it kind of sounds stupid.
Well, I mean, you do have a good point, but I just definitely think that Mark Martin going at number 8 is definitely a stretch, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think this is good around. I think I kind of agree with this too. I probably would put Harvick a little bit, just a little higher. Probably not too much higher though. Not good. He's not quite in the top 10 yet, but maybe someday, especially if he wins a second championship. But about Harvick, Harvick and Hamlin are they're both kind of put up there as like the best drivers without a championship. But Hamlin might win the championship this year, so you never know. But I think I agree with Martin being better than Denny Hamlin because if you look back at Mark Martin's career, he finished second in standings like a lot. Like
Yeah.
I think there's like 8 times that he finished second.
Yeah, it's pretty sad that he never won a championship. But I mean, you have to look at this too. Mark Martin, when he started his career, was like in his 30s. And if you notice like how old he was, even back in the 90s, you could tell this guy's old. And I mean, no wonder Viagra wanted to sponsor this guy. But I mean, Mark Martin was like in his 50s, maybe 60s when he retired. He was pretty old. And I just feel like if Mark Martin would have won a championship, he could have probably been a little higher. But yeah.
Yeah, he definitely would have been higher if he won a championship. Anything else you guys want to say? Because I'm gonna get to the next year.
I think we're pretty good here.
Mm-hmm. So we're getting pretty close to the top 10 here, but we're actually gonna get to the top 15 now. So at 16th is Bill Elliott, 15th is Junior Johnson, 14th is Buck Baker, and 13th is Herb Thomas.
Thank you. Well. Like mine.
Well, for me, I don't know them at all. So, except Junior Johnson and Bill Elliott, obviously, but I don't really know the others, so I just didn't really want to look them up at all. But I agree with that. But Bill Elliott, not that much. Yeah, he's got most popular driver for like 10 years in a row, whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't know. How many championships did he get? He got one, right? Yeah.
One.
For me, he doesn't really deserve to be that high up on the list, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I actually agree with you there. I think he does. I think he definitely does. Should be a little lower. Let's see. I actually have him at 17th. So around that. It's about the same.
I
And then-
have. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you can go.
Oh, well, I was just gonna say I have Bill Elliott at 17, Junior Johnson 16, Buck Baker 15th, and Rusty Wallace 14th. And if you look like Junior Johnson, he was part-time, but also Junior Johnson, he had a great winning percentage, 14 years and 50 wins. 50 wins in 14 years is pretty crazy. And like Junior Johnson only raced 313 races, and he won 46 poles. Like Junior Johnson was definitely underrated. And Buck Baker, the only thing was Buck, he raced 26 years and he had 46 wins and 372 top tens. I feel like Buck, like, he won 2 championships too. So, like, Buck Baker, a lot of people don't remember Buck Baker, Junior Johnson, and don't have them in their top 50 or like this high. But I think he definitely deserved to be there. And Rusty Wallace, reason why he's at 14 instead of higher is because he raced 26 years to 700 races and only won 1 championship. Now, Rusty had many chances. He was close many years to winning more than 1 championship. But I think Rusty Wallace definitely deserves to be 14. He had like 55 wins. So that's another reason why I put him above Buck Baker, Junior Johnson, Bill Elliott.
Good old
Yeah, I would-
Rusty Dusty.
What?
That's his nickname for me, Rusty Dusty.
Oh,
That's his nickname. That's what I call him anyways, Rusty Dusty. Get it?
but yeah, actually, Rusty Wallace is actually going to be pretty high on this list. But I think Kevin Harvick, Bill Elliott, and Rusty Wallace, they're all actually like they're all really good. But I think Kevin Harvick would actually, I don't know. I think Kevin Harvick might be a little better than Rusty. That's just my opinion.
Maybe if he wins another championship. I mean, that's a good argument too, though. Like Kevin Harvick, he didn't go many years without losing. You know, he didn't go many years without not winning a race. But Rusty Wallace, if you think about it, Rusty Wallace actually had a really long streak of winning at least 1 race every year for his career, except for like, I think he won every race like for about 10 years in a row, I think. But if I can recall correctly, Kevin Harvick, he's won at least 11 years in a row. I know that. I think the last year that Harvick went winless was like 2000, I would say 2009 maybe. But yeah.
Yeah, I actually forgot what I was gonna say, but I kind of want to talk about Herb Thomas. I think he deserves to be somewhere in top 15, maybe top 20, because he did win a lot of races and 2 championships in a short amount of time. So
Yeah, it's crazy. Herb Thomas, he used to drive the Hudson Hornet as well in one part of his career, but Herb Thomas only raced 10 years with 222 starts. He won 48 races in 229 starts, which is pretty crazy. 156 top 10s, 39 poles, and 2 championships. Herb Thomas is definitely underrated and a driver that people forget about. He definitely deserves to be top 15.
yeah, I feel like Herb Thomas was kind of overshadowed by Doc Hudson from Cars.
Yeah, that's probably why people know him.
Um,
I'm just playing.
That's probably like the only reason I ever knew who he was. Yeah, actually, I might have known who he was, but I don't really know. But actually, so I'm gonna get moving on here. But yeah, there's Kyle Busch at 12th, sitting in the 12th position. Rusty Wallace is 11th. I'll just leave it there and save the top 10 for the next.
All right, now Kyle Busch. Well, where do I start? He's probably the least favorite driver this last 10 years, but he's a great driver. I give him that. He's a really good driver. Like I'm talking about top 10. He's really good, but this last year has not been really looking good for him. So, but once again, he's like 38, wasn't that whatever? So his future might still be a really good future. So I wouldn't count Kyle Busch out. I'd probably put him in the top 8 to be honest.
Yeah, I think Yeah, his winless streak has actually been going back to like what is it, like Pocono of last year now? Because even then, before he won Pocono, he was going through like a little winless streak. So this winless streak it's kind of been going on for it's been going on for a while now. Even
Didn't Cowboys win the playoff race? I mean the Homestead.
No, I don't think he won that race. I think Blaney won that race, but I'm not quite sure.
are you talking about
I mean,
Homestead this
Homestead?
year?
No, last year.
Last
Or
year,
Yeah, last year he won the race at Homestead.
yeah.
So he's really going through a season. Oh, never mind.
It's been
But
like what? You can go.
I mean, I was just gonna say like my 12th and 11th, but you could go ahead.
But yeah, I actually kind of forgot what I was gonna say.
That happens.
I don't even think it really matters.
I'm not going to get to Kyle Busch yet because he's not 11th or 12th, but I have Ned Jarrett at 12th and I have Lee Petty at 11th. Lee Petty, people forget how good Lee Petty was. I mean, it's not just because of Richard Petty, but Lee Petty raced 16 years and had 54 wins, like 427 starts. And if y'all don't know this, Lee Petty actually won 3 championships. And that's the reason why Lee Petty's higher than Jarrett. Jarrett won 2 championships and 50 wins. But Ned Jarrett had like less races than Petty, but had more poles. But that's my top 11 and 12. Or that's
See,
my
I have Lee Petty at 11. I don't know why. I don't know too much about Lee Petty, but all I did was just put him at 11 because all I know he was good. I know Lee Petty was really good. That's why I have him there.
Yeah, I think I have Lee Petty. Yeah, I have Lee Petty at 11th too. So we all have Lee Petty.
11.
That's funny. Okay, so now we have actually I kind of messed it up here. So I'm just gonna all the drivers we just said, let's just say them as one spot lower. Okay. Okay. So actually, and then at 11th, I'm just gonna say this: we have Ned Jarrett at 11th. Yeah, I think he was definitely really good. I think that fits him well. Okay, now we have the top 10. So at 10th, we have Lee Petty. At 9th, Bobby Allison. 8th, Tony Stewart, and 7th is Cale Yarborough.
All right, now I do disagree with one. Once again, I'm biased, so this is what I gotta say. Tony Stewart is in 4th for me. Reason is because he was one hothead. He was a hothead driver and all that, you know. And he had he had the best championship in NASCAR. Like you just don't go with a regular season and go winless. Then all of a sudden you go on to do a tiebreaker race and win the championship. That's why he gets so high because he literally has the best championship for me. That and he was really good for Joe Gibbs.
I'm not a Tony Stewart hater, but I just don't see him top 5. In my opinion, I just don't see that at all. But number 10, I have Kyle Busch. I feel like if you're talking about like all time, like every single series, Kyle Busch would be higher, but we're just talking about Cup. So Kyle Busch is 10th, 56 wins, 32 poles, 1 championship. Tony Stewart is at number 9 for me. He raced 18 years, 618 races, 49 wins, 15 poles, and Stewart won 3 championships. But I just don't see him being better than Allison when Allison almost had 40 more wins than Stewart in his career. That's why I have like Bobby Allison at 8. He raced 25 years, 84 wins, 400 top 10, 59 poles. Allison only won 1 championship. I feel like if Allison won at least a couple more, he would be in the top 5. But I have Allison at 8. Number 7, Cale Yarborough. He raced less because Yarborough in his later career, Yarborough was like part-time. But he raced 31 years, 83 wins, 69 poles, 3 championships. Kelly Yarborough was the first driver to win 3 championships in a row other than Jimmy Johnson. But yeah, that's my take on the 10 through 7.
Yeah, I actually have Bobby Allison at 10th, and then I have Kyle Busch at 9th, Tony Stewart at 8th, and Kelly Yarborough at 7th. That's just my personal list.
I have Kelly Yarborough at 10th. But I have him at.
Yeah,
That's all I got to say.
I just mostly agree with this. So, actually, I'm gonna tell you guys the 6th driver, and then you can say your opinion on that. And then we're kind of getting into the top 5, which I'm pretty sure you guys all know who's gonna be in the top 5.
It's gonna
So
be
let's
different for some people for sure.
So let's see. At 6th, we have Quinn Hoof. No. Just kidding.
I was about to say, bro, you need something, bro. Like what?
No, but for real, Josh Blicky is 6th.
Josh Blicky. God, he's the GOAT, man.
Not even top 1. Not even top 200.
Yeah, but okay, I'm for real now. For real now, at 6th is Darrell Waltrip.
Yep.
God, no, I don't agree with that.
I agree with you.
I agree.
No, wait, I do agree. Never mind. I do agree.
Yeah, actually, I had Darrell Waltrip at 6th.
Yeah, the reason why I have Waltrip at 6, I mean, he raced 809 races, which is almost 200 more than Johnson and Dale Jr. And Waltrip raced 29 years, 84. He had 84 wins and 390 top 10s, 59 poles, 3 championships. Waltrip had a really good career. I know some people have him lower in the top 10, but I think Waltrip definitely is tracking the brink of 5. But I just don't see him being in the top 5 because of other people that are in there. But Waltrip, if you think about this too, Waltrip also had many wins at certain tracks. Like he dominated, like he won a lot of races at Bristol and the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte. And I definitely think Waltrip deserves that 6th spot.
Well, I think the only reason. All right, I know Darrell Waltrip for a lot of things. For one, he's probably the best commentator of all of NASCAR history, my opinion. 2, he has the icky shuffle fail. And 3, he's just a good driver. I would certainly put him up higher, but I just don't know him too much.
I've actually heard some people talking about how they think Darrell Waltrip was actually annoying, like interrupting the drivers and interrupting the other fellow commentators and stuff.
That's why I like him.
Well, I can say that he definitely outshined Jeff Gordon in their time in the booth together.
True.
Mm-hmm.
The iconic 3 is without a doubt Mike Joy, Darrell Waltrip, and Larry McReynolds.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's the iconic 3 commentators.
You never know. Next thing we're gonna be making a video about top 50 greatest commentators of all time.
Yes, sir. There you go, right there.
Okay. So now we have
Top 5.
the top 5. Okay, I don't know if I'm really ready for this, but yeah, number 5.
Well,
Wait. Actually, I have an idea. What do you? Why don't you guys try and guess the 5th spot? Where you think it's gonna end up being?
Jeff Gordon.
I think you probably put David Pearson at 5.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so at number 5. Okay, so here at number 5, we have Dale Earnhardt Sr. Number 4 is David Pearson. 3rd is Jeff Gordon. 2nd is Richard Petty, and then we know who number 1 is.
Timmy Hill, let's go. Timmy Hill, number 1. Let's go. That's what I'm talking about.
Actually, like most of the people who voted Jimmy the greatest driver of all time, including myself.
That's really hard. Like I said, I'm biased, but I tried so hard not to be biased on Jimmy. But you got to look at some things. Jimmy Johnson won 5 championships in a row with competition being really hard. That's why he's so good. But then other times you think about, oh, well, he hasn't won in what 2 years. Well, I mean, he hasn't. But you think about Richard Petty, he hasn't won. He went on a winless streak too. But
Yeah.
for me, Jimmy Johnson is the best of all time because of that fact that he won 5 championships in a row with competition being really hard, and has been in the series for so long. You know.
I don't know where to start, man. I mean, I'm not mad at you or anything. I just don't see that. Like, I mean, all right. So at number 5, I have Dale Earnhardt Sr. I mean, that made my grandpa mad because he was a huge Dale Sr. fan. But I have Dale Sr. at 5. The reason, Dale Sr. won 76, races, 7 championships. But Dale Sr., if y'all don't know, he didn't have it. He actually has more top 10s than Jimmy Johnson in his career, but he also wrecked. He's wrecked more than Jimmy Johnson, believe it or not. But Dale Sr., like, he didn't have as many poles. And Senior, you have to think about this too. It's really hard for me to put Dale Sr. like at number 4. I have him at 5. The reason why I don't have him at 4 is because I feel like Dale Sr., like, he had really good competition. I mean, in my opinion, the 90s and the 80s were the toughest era in NASCAR. But I feel like that Dale Sr., like, he would, if you think about, like, back in the day, these drivers literally had to go through torture in their cars. Like, even back in the 70s, 60s, they didn't have air conditioning. They didn't have water. They had to drink out of, like little water bottles they threw out of their cars. They had no power steering, so they had to yank the wheel like this in the corners. They raced with incredible injuries. Like, if Richard Prey, for example, he raced with a broken neck, knowing he would die if he wrecked again. And you don't see that with drivers nowadays. You don't see drivers racing with a broken leg or a broken nose and stuff like that, because it's different nowadays. It's more technology based. It's more like detailed in a way. But the drivers back in the day had to deal with way more like not as much safe race cars. And I mean, I have Jimmy Johnson at number 4, and I'll explain why in a second. But Dale Sr., I think he deserves number 5. But I mean, no, the top 5 is very debatable. It's hard to compare people from different eras of NASCAR, just like the NBA. It's hard to compare Jordan and LeBron because of the different eras. Like, back then, Jordan didn't have as much competition when it came to athleticism or speed. The players nowadays can shoot the ball from anywhere. Back in the days, people could barely freaking shoot. If you look at it, no one could play defense either back in the day unless they're fouling. It's crazy. And okay, now after my little rant, at number 4, I have Jimmy Johnson. And the reason why Jimmy Johnson's number 4 is because his stats, like, if you look at stats, they're amazing. Not gonna lie, Jimmy Johnson had amazing stats. But I mean, Jimmy Johnson, yes, he's had a terrible end of his career like Petty did. But Jimmy Johnson went into a full-time ride with the best equipment that Hendrick had. Hendrick Jeff Gordon could have chose to have kept the best car for himself. Instead, he's like, I'm just going to bring in Jimmy Johnson as a rookie, give him the best equipment. Jimmy Johnson could have won that 2002 championship as well. He was really close. But I just don't see Jimmy Johnson being number 1 at all. I see him being number 4. Yes, he won 5 straight championships, but also look at the point system. Back in the day, the point system was way different. The chase was designed. They were trying to change the playoffs to where Jimmy Johnson wouldn't win. And if you notice, Jimmy Johnson only won 1 time in the different playoff system. He always wanted the chase system because of his consistency. But Jimmy Johnson, if you look at his chase runs, like the 2007 season, he won a lot during the chase, but like 2009, he barely scratched. Like, he only won like 1 or 2 races in the chase. But if you look at the old point system, you had to win basically almost every weekend to be in the top 5. Like, and nowadays it's way different. But Jimmy Johnson, I definitely think he deserves to be fourth. He raced 20 years, 675 races, but that was as of August 25th. Jimmy Johnson has way less top tens. Richard Petty has over almost 400 more top tens than Jimmy, but I'll get to his stats in a second. But Jimmy Johnson had 36 poles, which is not bad. But do you want me to go to number 3 and number 2 or number 1? Or do you want me to wait? Or do y'all have any takes on that?
All right, now
First,
I
actually,
gotta say something. Jimmy Johnson. Now, I do agree he doesn't have that many top tens as Richard Petty, but once again, you gotta look at it. Like Richard Petty, he was good only because he was the best team of all time. Like, yeah, he owned his own team. He built his own cars. He got all the great equipment that no other team could really get. But that's because Richard Petty was the best at the time. You know what I mean? But Jimmy Johnson,
yeah,
like you said, he just basically got into good equipment. But think of it like this: you know, he was in the Busch Series, sucked. He did not do good whatsoever. He won one race. All right, so people did not have any good expectations. Like that's just basically saying, okay, we'll put what's his name, freaking Timmy Hill in the 24 car. There you go.
yeah,
That's just basically what I'm trying to say.
yeah. I still think that Richard Petty is definitely really good. But I think if you have 7 championships, you should definitely just be in the top 3 of conversation greatest of all time. But I guess you could kind of argue Dale Earnhardt or David Pearson, but I think Dale Earnhardt's better than Jeff Gordon, but because Dale Earnhardt was he was back in the day when he was he was really tough, and he if you look back, he finished in the top 10 a lot. And he was really consistent back in his prime, the 80s, late 80s. He finished in the top 10 a lot. And then I do kind of agree with you there that Richard Petty, I think he definitely is really good, should be in the top 3 or top 5 or whatever you want to say. But Richard Petty did have it's kind of like how IndyCar is. I don't really want to compare IndyCar and NASCAR because they're very different. But back in the day, Richard Petty had the best car, the fastest car, and then with Jimmy, well, actually I'll say Jeff here. Jeff Gordon, I think he's definitely a really good driver. He dominated back in the 90s, and even in the 2000s he was doing really good. And then I also think that sorry, I'm talking a lot here, but I think David Pearson, he finished, what is it, I think he had 300 starts. I think it was 300 starts and then 102 wins. I think it was. That's really good. He won a lot. So I think, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to my top 10 or my top 4, but right now, my phone literally is about to die, so I have to charge it, so you can't really see my face. But basically, yeah, I mean, let me look at my list real quick. I have Jimmy at 4, Jeff Gordon at 3. I was debating whether to put Gordon at 2 over Pearson or not, but I just decided to put Gordon at 3. The reason why I have Gordon at 3 is because Gordon was crazy. 477 top 10s, 81 poles. 81 poles, which is almost 50 more than Jimmy. And he raced only 5 more years than Johnson did in his career. Jeff Gordon had 805 starts, and Jeff Gordon had the record. I think Jeff Gordon has the record for the most consecutive starts in a row. I know that Jeff Gordon has 93 wins. And I tried not to make it based off of wins, but I sort of did at this part. But that's why I had Gordon at 93, or with 93 wins at number 3. Now, the reason why I have Pearson at 2 is because Pearson's winning percentage was absolutely insane. Pearson raced part-time most of his career. It's funny, there was at least 2 years in his career that he won championships while racing part-time, not even full-time. Pearson had 574 starts in 27 years and 105 wins, 366 top tens, and Pearson had 113 poles, which is crazy. You have more poles than wins. And Pearson had 3 championships. And I think Pearson definitely deserves to be number 2. He was the silver fox. He was the greatest competition against Petty. And I think Pearson, as I said earlier, with the conditions these guys are driving in, Pearson he made Wood Brothers Racing and helped it to where it is today. Same thing with Richard Petty. I think Pearson definitely deserves to be number 2. Now, the reason, all right, I'm going to get to Richard Petty now, number 1. Richard Petty, what do I say? Richard Petty was just yes, he had 1,184 starts, but Richard Petty had 200 wins, and that will never happen ever again. He had 712 top tens, 123 poles, and 7 championships. Richard Petty is the king. You know what I'm saying? If you were to put Jimmy Johnson in that era, he wouldn't be beating David Pearson or Richard Petty, the guys that could grill for 5 hours in the race car. Back then, they used to race on death traps. Daytona had no fencing, hardly any fencing back in the day. People would die every week. And I just don't see Jimmy Johnson, yes, I'm not questioning the guy's toughness, but I mean, back in the day it was way worse. And you have to think about this too. Back then they didn't have as many crew members. They had family members as their freaking crew chiefs and tire changers. They built their own cars, raced them, and brought them home. They basically drove their race cars on the streets, and they built them they basically built their own cars. How many people do you think do that nowadays? What, street races? You don't see that happening. And Richard Petty went through crazy stuff. As I mentioned earlier, he broke his neck in a race. He decided to race again knowing he would die. Yes, Richard Petty didn't win the last 8 years of his career, but Jimmy Johnson hasn't won in 3 years either. So, and it's hard to compare eras, as I said, but I just think Richard Petty's the GOAT. I just don't see why he can't be number 1. And yes, I know, yes, I'm a Jimmy Johnson fan. He's my number 1 favorite driver forever, but I'm not being biased. I just don't feel like Jimmy Johnson's even close to Richard Petty or Pearson. I don't think Johnson's in the top 3. I think Gorman's number 3. But that's my take. Just let me, if you have anything else to say about it, just let me know.
All right,
Also,
yes, I do have something to say.
I kind
All
of
right, now let's do the swaparoo. Let's put Richard Petty in this era. Like you said, let's put Johnson in that era. Let's put Richard Petty in this era. I don't know what would exactly happen, but it would just be different for him, and he wouldn't compete as much. You know what I'm saying? I know that sounds like, oh, he would be good because cars are but think about it. Cars nowadays are just different than what they were back then, and every car is built the same way, and so you kind of have to race with. All right, like I said before, Johnson had very hard competition on him, and he won 5 straight championships. And this is what I'm getting at. If you put Richard Petty in 2010, all the cars, everybody would be competitive because isn't NASCAR all the stock cars are built the same? There's really no advantage anymore to them, right?
That is fact, yes.
All right, so Richard Petty wouldn't really be as good as he would. Now, I'm not saying he wouldn't be good at all, but he wouldn't be as good as he was back in the 70s and 80s and all that.
Yeah, but how many weeks in a row did these guys race? Literally, Richard Petty, Dave Pearson raced 2 to 3 races a week. Nowadays, it's 1 race a week or once every 2 weeks. And these guys had hardly any off season. They would race in January at Riverside, go to Daytona, and have 5 different exhibition races at Daytona, then have the 500. Their season would end in November. And these guys raced in all sorts of conditions. They didn't have to have rain delays. They raced in rain. They raced in dirt. They raced all sorts of stuff. Heck, they even raced at an airport back in the 1960s. Like, I mean, I just don't. I mean, yes, like you said, the cars are different and more like the same nowadays. And I mean, I just kind of don't like that they did that, but I definitely see what they're doing. And yes, the cars nowadays are safer. It's really just a matter. It comes down to a matter of opinion. And I mean, it just depends on different people. If you ask someone from the 80s that's watched NASCAR from the 80s, they're going to say Dale Earnhardt Sr. is the best. Or if you ask someone from watching NASCAR back in the 70s, they're going to say Richard Petty's the best. And, you know, that's like y'all are probably younger than me by like 4 years. Like y'all are going to say Jimmy Johnson's best because you've watched him more. And it just all comes down to a matter of opinion.
Mhm. Yeah, I think also kind of talking about Dale Earnhardt here. We also kind of never really got to see the worst of Dale Earnhardt because you know, we never really got to see him like go on a really long winless streak because you never know. It could have happened. It could have not happened. You just never really know.
Yeah, if you think about it, Dale only had like 1 or 2 years they never won a race, but except for like back in, I think Dale Sr. never won a race in 81 or 82, I think. And Sr. won almost every single year of his career. I think his last winless season was either 96 or 97. But yeah, what were you going to say, Andrew?
I don't know what to say about Dale Earnhardt. My mom is probably the biggest Dale Earnhardt fan out there. But my mom, it was a Dale Earnhardt fan. Literally saw Dale Earnhardt die because my mom went to the 2001 Daytona 500 and boom, he died. She didn't know. She told me everything. She was like, "Oh, we went back to the trailers and stuff." But I'm getting off topic. But but she told me everybody that went to that race went into the infield of Daytona and put all that stuff down, which kind of got me emotional because everybody supported him when he died, and that shows you how fans really are nowadays. Like they care and they get sad when everybody drivers die. But that's not. I just got off topic. But Dale Earnhardt, I don't know why I put him at number 5. He got 76 wins. He's the intimidator. He got 7 championships. He should be in 3rd. But my honest opinion is just, he was just really a super speedway racer. He ain't nothing but a restricted plate racer. You know what I mean?
Actually, I kind of disagree with you there because Dale Earnhardt could pretty much race in anything, and then he could still do good because he could race a trash can with wheels and still do good. But
I mean, I definitely agree. Like David Pearson, when he first started, he was in trash equipment, but he still would win. But I mean, Dale Sr. definitely best restrictor plate driver of all time, in my opinion. If you look, how many wins he had at Daytona in like any series, but we're just talking about Cup right now. We're not talking about Xfinity. But I mean, there was something else I was going to say, but like, say for instance, Richard Petty dies. Like I mean, of course you don't wish that upon someone, and I don't want to see him pass away, and it would make things worse for society. But Richard Petty, once he's gone, like people will finally realize how much he meant for the sport. I think he's so underappreciated. Richard Petty did so much for NASCAR. Richard Petty was in NASCAR when it first like started to become like really popular back in the 70s, like when he had that finish with David Pearson in the 76 500. People are like, "Oh, NASCAR's so crazy that he finished like this." It caused more people to tune in. They started to televise races back in the 70s, and of course the 79 500, where Richard Petty won that one, and they had to find the infield and all that. Like Richard Petty did so much for NASCAR, and he did it all by himself. Like, I mean, not by himself, but he had a great group of guys, his family, and their team worked so hard to get to where they were. And I mean, yes, there's controversy also about how many wins he had, but Richard Petty, like the amount of work he put in is nothing compared to how much work Jimmy Johnson put in. Like Jimmy Johnson couldn't do it without Chad Canals. Richard Petty, he didn't have a good crew chief most of his career.
I don't really have a clear driver who I think is the greatest of all time, because Richard Petty, Jimmy Johnson, Dale Earnhardt, I'm kind of like really biased towards all three of them. So I try not to be too biased, but I am biased towards the three of them, because lately I've been getting into Dale Earnhardt Sr., because he was the first driver that he was like the first driver that I ever knew about, Dale Earnhardt Sr. and Dale Earnhardt Jr. And then really early, when I first started liking and getting into NASCAR, I also started researching Richard Petty and getting into a lot of that. So I'm really just a fan of like all three of them. So I always have a hard time with them kind of deciding who I think is better. But I've kind of just forced myself to make a decision.
Yeah. Like I said, I Jimmy Johnson was really the first driver I ever saw in my life. You know, I never met him, never, but I wish I had. But
I met him once.
Savage NASCAR. I mean, Christian, whatever. You do have a point. He's the only driver I ever got to saw drive and all that. But then again, I'm a hardcore NASCAR fan, and I kind of do know my history. And I'm not saying you're wrong,
Yeah.
But Johnson was so important in my life. He's something I looked up to. I looked at. I studied him. All that. Like stats wise, not like. Never mind. But Johnson is a good role model for today. But then again, you are right, Savage NASCAR. He was really the only driver that some people looked up to and stuff. But
Yeah, I agree
I
with
don't
that.
know.
Like for me, like when I first started watching NASCAR, it was like right before Jimmy Johnson started winning championships and stuff. But Jimmy Johnson, he's definitely someone I look up to and my favorite driver ever and everything. And I mean, yes, I love Jimmy Johnson, but in my opinion, I just can't put him above Gordon, Pearson, and Petty. But I mean, yeah, I understand. I'm very hardcore as well. I've watched NASCAR. I've watched thousands and thousands of races online and stuff. And yeah.
Oh, were you done talking?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were just thinking about what you were gonna say.
No, I'm good. I'm done.
I'm just like all about done with. I don't really have much more to say, but I'm actually gonna get ending the podcast here soon. But you guys have any final words that you wanna say?
No, not really. Besides that, the top 5 was probably the biggest discussion we've had.
Yeah, it definitely was. We spent like half of the podcast talking about the top 5.
Yeah, it just shows you how popular the top 5 is in NASCAR. It's a huge debate.
Yeah. Now, see, there's one. Hold on. I think there's one driver that did not make my top 5, and I told you earlier, it's Tony Stewart. Once again, Stewart has the best championship to his name. Who goes into a regular season without a win, and then goes into the playoffs, totally dominates, and you go into a tiebreaker in the very last race. You have to win the last race. And it's a 1-2 situation, Carl Edwards, he was defending that, he had that championship in his hand, and Tony Stewart said, let me just ruin this day for you. and Tony Stewart, they both finished 1 and 2, and the points were tied. So of course Tony Stewart got that championship because he won the race, and that's why he's up there so high, because he has the best championship to his name. I can't stop thinking about how that championship could have gone so much differently if Tony Stewart did not win that last race whatsoever.
Also, I kind of think about uh I also kind of want to mention Dale Earnhardt. He did win a championship in his only his second full-time season with like not that good equipment. So I think didn't he have like one? I think he had like one of the best like rookie seasons or whatever out of like anybody. Like I think that's definitely a good accomplishment.
I think that definitely those are great performances. I mean, Tony Stewart, yes, he probably has the greatest, championship win of all time. One other thing too, I meant to mention to y'all. Richard Petty won 27 races one season, 1967. He won 27
Holy,
races.
I know about
Like
that.
40 races.
And he did win 10 races in a row that season.
Richard Petty won multiple seasons. He won championship multiple seasons with over 10 wins. Same thing with Pearson. Pearson 1 year, I forgot exactly what video I saw, but Pearson 1 year, I think it was 73 or something. Pearson won like 11 of the 18 races he was in. He only didn't win in 7 of those races, and he was in the top 10 in every race except for 2. Like, that's crazy. You think about that. And Pearson also had like 1 year he won like 13 races and stuff. You don't see that happen nowadays. Yes, you may see that with Harvick and Hamlin now this year. And it's just crazy. Like the individual stats of some of the guys back in the day were insane. Like Richard Petty, I think it was Jeff Gordon in '98 won 13 races.
Yeah, I think also that season you were talking about when he won 27 races, he did actually win 10 races in a row that season too, which I think when I first figured that out, I thought that was pretty crazy. Like that's so long. It's literally we have 10 races left and I don't know if it's 11 or 10, but we have around that much left in the NASCAR season, and he won 10 races in a row, which I think that's a really big accomplishment too.
Yeah.
Dale Jarrett? No, I'm playing. No, Jeff Gordon. I'm surprised. Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt, rivals, but they were good rivals. But you're going to talk about Jeff Gordon. Nobody liked him because he was young and he basically bought his way into the series. That's why everybody didn't like him. He was from the West. He was young. That's why nobody really liked him. But once he was coming down to the end of his career, everybody was like, "Oh, we all love Jeff Gordon."
Yeah.
And that's the same thing happening to Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson, everybody hated him. Not everybody, but most people hated him because he was so good. But you see everybody saying, "Let's go, Jimmy." I don't know what's going on with that, but that's just saying, "Oh, Kyle Busch is retiring." I ain't going like Kyle Busch because he's retiring. That's just me though.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm going to be celebrating when Kyle Busch is gone. You're right. I'm going to be happy. He's gone, retiring stuff. But I mean, still, Jeff Gordon won a lot. He has 93 wins, right? So
Yeah.
And he also was competitive in his last ever season. So Jeff Gordon is really good.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I have him at number 3, I believe. I don't know. I forgot, but Jeff Gordon is a really good driver. I think if he was a 7-time champion, he would be that number 1 spot. But that's just me.
Yeah, sometimes I think if he got paired with Chad Knaus, Jeff Gordon probably could have had 100+ wins and maybe even more than 7 championships. Then definitely Jeff Gordon would definitely be the greatest of all time, like no doubt. He would definitely. But
I agree.
yeah, there would be like no arguing. But I think so. Actually, now we're to an hour and a half that we've been doing this podcast, which has been really long. I like these long podcasts, so actually, I hope if anybody even watched this long into the podcast, I hope you guys enjoyed this. We had a lot of fun doing all
I
these.
do want to. Well, I don't. When you plan on ending this? Because I do have one more thing to say, and it doesn't deal with the top 100 or top 50 or whatever.
What is it?
Today is, I think it's Elliott Sadler Appreciation Day, and to me that means a lot because he's my uncle, and it means a lot to me. And I saw today Kyle Busch, he's throwing back to him, and I literally sat down and cried to say that Elliott Sadler is still part of the series. Well, not part in the series, but he's still part of the community. People care about him still and all that. Just got me emotional, and I love the paint scheme and all that. And I just don't know really what to say. I mean, it means a lot. And also, John Hunter Nemechek is throwing back to his 21 car, I believe.
I think that if Elliott Sadler would have won Xfinity Championship, he would definitely rank higher in the Xfinity top 50. But Elliott Sadler had a pretty solid career in the Xfinity series. Just Cup series just didn't really work out for him, unfortunately. But yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I say if Elliott would have gone to Hendrick, but once again, that's what Hendrick deals with. I think if Hendrick would have came up to Elliott and asked him to drive a Hendrick car, pretty sure Elliott would be a freaking goat. No, I'm playing. He would be a great driver though. But I mean, he was driving for Robert Yates, really good there. Peak of his career was 2004, but once again, in 2007 or whenever, he just left Robert Yates because Robert Yates, his thing went down. That team was not really successful anymore. That's kind of why he left. Went to the 19 of. Was it Richard Petty who owned the 19 car?
It was what's his name? Ray Abraham, I think.
Ray Abraham, that's it. Once again, Ray Abraham just didn't have a good car. Went to the Xfinity, and his Xfinity series was actually a pretty decent, one. He was the Matt Crafton. He doesn't win, but he's good.
He had so many second place point standings finishes. It was crazy.
Yeah, I spent that one night. I remember that one night. I still hate him for this. Ryan Preece. I know it's not Ryan Preece's fault, but Ryan Preece, man, he was in the way, and Elliott just had no choice but to get in the back of him, and I mean that ruined his championship. Oh man, y'all should have seen me that night. I was screaming and all that. So close. But William Byron. That's another thing I want to talk about, but that's something for the next podcast. But William Byron won the championship. Congrats to him. But yeah, that's right. 4 years later, and I said congrats to William Byron. There you go. 3 years. But no, I was mad that night and all that. That also tells you how important it means to me that a championship, Well, obviously, but I haven't really got a lot of success in my NASCAR happiness. I haven't really been happy with NASCAR lately. All my favorite drivers are retiring and all of this is happening. But, it's fine. I'm probably going to remain a NASCAR fan forever.
We should do a podcast episode talking about our most heartbreaking NASCAR moments about the races that hurt us the most. I think that would be a cool podcast.
Yeah, so this podcast this has been probably the best podcast. Well, for me it's probably been my best podcast because usually I kind of find myself stuttering a little bit, and I've been trying to get better on that. So yeah. So actually, yeah, I'm gonna end the podcast. Hopefully we can get the other one out soon. Before Darlington comes out, but before the Darlington race. So bye guys.
All right, that'll do
Yeah.
it. Thanks for watching.